Subpoena for accidentally starting a cult in my neighborhood over a garden gnome.
My war with the Homeowners Association began with a single, defiant garden gnome and somehow ended with me being the anonymous worship leader of a suburban rebellion. I 30 for M live in one of those beige suburban neighborhoods, where the HOA has a 3-ring binder of rules for everything: acceptable shades of mailbox paint, approved species of lawn grass, the precise angle at which your recycling bin must face the street. My personal nemesis was rule number 87B, no decorative lawn ornaments of any kind. After getting a citation for my daughter's visually disruptive hopscotch chalk drawing, I snapped. That night, I went to a 24-hour superstore and bought the most ridiculously tacky, classic, pointy-hatted garden gnome I could find. I named him Stilgar. I placed him defiantly in the center of my perfect HOA-approved lawn and went to bed. The next morning, there it was, a crisp white violation notice stuck to my door. Failure to remove unsanctioned statuary. That night, instead of removing Stilgar, I just moved him. I placed him behind a rose bush peeking out. The next day, a new notice. So, I moved him again. This time having him ride our plastic flamingo, a clear violation of rule number 87C. This became our nightly ritual. After about a week, I noticed something odd. Someone had placed a single, perfect daisy in Stilgar's little ceramic hand. The next day, a neighbor I'd never spoken to gave me a slow, deliberate wink as she walked by. The rebellion had a sympathizer. Things escalated. A tiny, hand-painted Viva LA gnome sign appeared at Stilgar's feet. Then someone built a miniature picket fence around him. My anonymous acts of defiance had found an anonymous audience. People were fighting back. The HOA, naturally, was losing its collective mind, sending out furious ALL caps emails about rampant vandalism and community-wide insubordination. Feeling bold, I decided to give the people a rallying point. There's a small, unused patch of woods between my house and the main road. I cleared a little space and built a small shrine for Stilgar, complete with a flat stone for offerings. I have no idea what I was thinking. The shrine took on a life of its own. Within a week, it was covered in other illegal ornaments. A plastic flamingo, a gazing ball, a small army of other gnomes. People started leaving anonymous notes venting their frustrations with the HOA. It became a weirdly wholesome, passive-aggressive community hub. I was the secret founder of the First Church of Lawn Ornament Liberation. The whole thing came to a head last night. The HOA president, a grumpy old retired colonel named Mr. Henderson, called an emergency town hall meeting in his driveway. He stood before us, face red, holding a thick binder of gnome sighting evidence. He was about to bring the hammer down. This Gnomageddon, he boomed, is a direct violation of, he was cut off. Not by an angry neighbor, but by his own wife, a quiet woman we all knew as Carol. She stood up, tears in her eyes. I left the first daisy, George, she said, her voice trembling. The entire neighborhood went silent. She turned to us. My brother, David. He passed away 2 years ago. He loved these stupid things. He had a whole garden full of them. When I saw that little gnome on their lawn, it was the first time I'd smiled all week. It felt like David was saying hello. She then looked at her husband. George isn't a tyrant, she said, her voice cracking. He's just scared. The Master Association that governs all our HOA letters can fine him personally for failing to enforce the rules. David was his best friend. He's been trying to grieve while also fighting off threatening letters from a corporate office downtown, all because he didn't want to take away the one thing that was making me happy. The twist wasn't that the HOA president was a secret villain. The twist was that he wasn't a villain at all. He was just a heartbroken old man trapped between his wife's grief and a faceless corporation, and we'd all made him the enemy. Lesson learned: you truly never know what's going on in someone else's life. My petty war wasn't with my neighbor. It was with the corporate policy. I mistook the soldier for the king.tl. Dr. I started a gnome-based rebellion against my HOA president as a joke, accidentally creating a neighborhood-wide movement. Turns out the president wasn't a tyrant, but a grieving man trying to protect his wife, who was secretly my first follower. EDIT. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for all the awards and DMs. Everyone woke up to 1,000 new messages. For those asking, we all just kind of stood there in stunned silence for a minute before one of our neighbors, a lawyer, walked up to Mr. Henderson and said, George, give me the contact info for the Master Association. I think a petition signed by 85 households might change their minds. About a few lawn ornaments. Update 3 days later. It's over. We won. The lawyer neighbor drafted a petition. Nearly everyone signed it. And he sent a letter that basically read, meet our reasonable demands or face a PR nightmare. And a legal challenge from an entire community of angry homeowners. The Master Association caved in less than 24 hours. The rule book is being amended. Last night, someone organized a neighborhood potluck at the shrine. Mr. and Mrs. Henderson came. I anonymously left Stilgar on their front porch with a note that just said, welcome home. So, read it. Has anyone else here ever completely misjudged their neighborhood villain and discovered a totally different story?